Greetings, Kerbal Nauts. This is test number 5. Yep, test number 5. Okay, select redesign, he says. Well, first of all, let's stop rolling. Same sort of principle with a rigid backbone. And the pods I've basically just shoved over the top, strapped them down. One thing I have done on this one is I've basically made an ejection system to basically save anyone that's on board should something go wrong. So basically the staging setup is we just have all the engines, which you'll note there's 4 turbofans and 4 rapiers, which hopefully will make it an SSTO, but I haven't tested that yet. So we hit the first stage, which deploys 2 parachutes, which are there and there on each side, and then very shortly after that, i.e. about half a second later, we stage again, which then drops the boosters, the engines, off the back, and they get pulled out of the way by the parachutes. In this stage, all of these parachutes here that are on top deploy, and before they are fully opened, you stage again to drop the decoupler here, which should pull this entire lot up and out the back away from the what's left of the craft. Of course, the pilot needs to eject as well, which basically just decouples here with the battery pack. You need the battery pack. And he has 4 parachutes on the pod, or what is now becomes a pod. Ergo, pilot gets saved. Yay! Although, that being said, it's probably actually safer to come down with the ship rather than just being ejected. Even though the glide rate on this is pretty abysmal. But that's going a little bit too far ahead. So, we are going to start with the testing. I've done a little bit so I can tweak it. The weight distribution isn't brilliant, but it's good enough. We are, as you've already seen, I'll show you anyway, fully loaded with fuel. And turbofans are spooled up to max. And yes, it does have a general tendency to eat liquid fuel rather rapidly, which, to be honest, I'm really not surprised about. Let's go ahead and shoot down the runway. We are taking off at the end, hopefully. I made a few tweaks, because it didn't quite get off the runway, end of the runway. It didn't quite lift up before the end of the runway. Yeah, I don't think the tweaks have helped. Does require going a little bit on the quick side. .10° angle of attack required at ground level, which is okay. But needs to be less. It does have a general tendency to flip out if you try and pull too big of an angle of attack. But, oh well. But you can stick it in a 45° nose up. Or at least I did last time. Getting a bit worrying. Speed's dropping a bit low. Anyway, 45-degree nose up seems to still be okay. So not doing too bad. Another change that I've made while we're climbing in altitude. I have one RTG on here. That one there. You can just see before. And it wasn't quite enough without the engines producing power. So I've added 2 more on there. Added 2 batteries to this section. And of course there is the Kerbal surface attached pod here that I've shoved on so I can control it through the computer. Just in case I need to for whatever reason. Oops. Let's try not to crash the game. So, not doing too bad. The only thing that is quite ridiculous is the frame rate. There's a lot of aerodynamic drag, to say the least, doing it this method. What I think I might have to do is to look at, because of all these modules and what's required for them, I think I need to look at another way of doing the transport. So having a split hull like this, there's a lot of drag involved, which is why the glide rate is abysmal. Well, certainly unpowered glide rate anyway. As you can see, it's still behaving, not doing too bad. Now we're going to go ahead and pitch over, pick up some speed. Got plenty of height. And we're going to go into, almost, a circuit around the runway. Left-hand circuit. Oh, I should point out that I wasn't recording at the time, unfortunately, so it would have been absolutely hilarious. But one of the tests that I did before this, while I was sorting the wings out, I was flying around, did a circuit round, came into land, touched down, and then realised I hadn't dropped the landing gear. The amazing thing is, it didn't blow up, and it didn't break apart. It just had a good shudder on the ground and came to a halt. And then I just dropped the gear and it raised itself up without anything breaking. Which I probably would not be able to do again. Must have been a fluke. Why are you in target mode? Target mode and surface mode should be pretty much the same anyway. So doing the downwind leg. Everything's fine, no issues. Should point out that the the weight distribution is nose heavy relative to the centre of lift, which is fine because we're pulling fuel out. If we look at the fuel balancer, which isn't active by the way, we're pulling it out of the forward tank. So, simple way with something like this to check your weight balance is if you're using the canards, either the AV8s or the advanced ones. These ones are AV9s by the way. They're twice the size of the AV8s. Yes, it's a custom part. You can see if it's up like that at the front, so it's trying to pull the nose up, then you're still nose heavy. If it's down below that, like that, then it's tail heavy. So it's a simple way of telling. I need to get plenty of downwind for an approach. I have tested a landing on rough stuff, the grassland below me. As I said, the glide rate is abysmal. When I did a glide test, I ended up having to land way short of the runway. Annoyingly. But, oh well. Now I have set up action groups on this. The Rapier engines are set to manual, and I have an action group assigned to switching their mode. Simple reason being that one thing that I've found is with multiple air intakes and multiple Rapiers, what you'll find is one will switch to rocket mode, and then that'll free up air intake for the others, but there's a thrust imbalance. So it'll switch one, and then another, and then another, and then another, and there might be a huge gap between them, which creates thrust imbalances. And sometimes this thrust imbalance is too much and it'll make you spin, especially in the upper atmosphere. So I've disabled the automatic switching and basically set it to manual. Now basically what will happen is when you switch the Rapiers, there will then be an abundance of air intake for the turbofans, so turbofans will last longer to give you that extra bit of ultra efficient thrust. But this thing does need more wing surface area, I do believe. But we're going to do a full test. Unfortunately, this is the rather boring bit. Well, when I'm going to do an SSTO test, for the time being, because I don't think it's got enough wing area to stay up there. And the emergency procedures, they're usually the last to get tested anyway. So as you can see by this, you can tell by the way that it turns that it does need more wing surface area, which is a problem. One thing that I have thought of for this is to stick on a couple of nuclear rocket motors. Not quite sure how I'm going to do it yet. For ultra efficient cruising in space. Yeah, not quite sure how I'm going to do that. I also need to add on some docking ports as well, so I can refuel it. So, yes, we are still at full throttle. Because we need to do a brakes test, which means coming in like a bat out of hell. So, we're going to turn the brakes on, so as soon as we touch down, which is pretty much worst case scenario for what you can do, because the weight balance hasn't settled on the landing gear, and you're slamming the brakes on. Well, we've got a slight drift to the left. We always seem to have a slight drift to the left. I'd love to know why. A bit more. Too far. Oh! I don't believe I just did that. I was too busy doing a video and forgot to drop the gear. Bugger. And I was going in way too fast to be able to revert to launch. Okay, we're going to have to do this quickly then. Well, I'll have to test the brakes later. I'm pretty sure they still work. Come on. Thank you. Right, so, next set of tests. We're going to go off-road and see what we can destroy. So we're going to do a 180 from the runway. Interesting. Ahead, more or less this direction. Let's go and aim for the peak, and we're going to throttle up and GLF. Now the next question is, why are these lights on? You know what, let's turn all the lights on, screw it. So now we're going to be testing the landing gear. So right for that peak. Let's have a look at the engine performance. 96 kilonewtons, 114. Well, so far we're looking okay. Nope, we need the SAS on. Oh dear. That's not good. Gear base smashed down. Have you finished? Let's have a look. That's the end of the first one. Small gear bay crashed into terrain. I would love to know which one. So I've got quite a few on there. Small wind crashed into terrain. Pretty sure that's the back right hand side. Structural failure on link between Rockamax Jumbo 64 fuel tank and inline stabilizer. Yeah, which one? I'd imagine that's the one at the back because the back collapsed. Oh, okay. You've just changed the size on me, git. Squad, can you make this window wider, please? Kerbal Spcace was killed and it still hasn't finished destroying the craft yet. Lovely. Okay, so we blew it up again. That's test number 5. Need to fix a suspension issue. Oh well. I'm CW, and we crashed twice on this one. Twice.